Part 1. The Divine Reckoning begins. You were never just surviving. Welcome, Scorpio. Not everyone will understand this message, but you're not everyone. Are you? You didn't stumble here by accident. You were summoned. This is the path to Buddhist wisdom, and today, we begin a sacred unveiling of your soul's deepest truths. This isn't just a horoscope, it's a revelation. One designed for the Scorpio heart that has endured more than most and still chooses love. But first, let me ask you, have you ever sat in silence and felt like life had muted your spirit? Not because you were weak, but because your strength had been tested so relentlessly, you forgot what peace felt like. You've kept walking, even while bleeding. You've kept believing, even while no one clapped. You've loved when love wasn't returned. And now, the divine has taken notice. What you lost will return 1,000-fold. Not in the way you expected, but in the way your soul secretly prayed for. So stay with me through this journey. Your transformation is already underway. And if this speaks to you, whisper in the comments, I am ready. I receive this truth. Don't forget to subscribe to this sacred space, so the light we awaken in you today will never go dim again. A Scorpio's quiet agony. For years, Scorpio, you've been the emotional anchor for others. The loyal one. The one who listens, absorbs, and rarely complains. But deep down, you've been tired, haven't you? You've questioned if all the sacrifices, all the silences, all the patience were worth it. You've seen people walk away while you stayed. You've seen betrayal where you gave only loyalty. And perhaps the most haunting part of it all, you thought no one saw it. But the universe saw. And now, like the first crack of light in a dark tunnel, your breakthrough is beginning. You're not just healing. You're returning to the version of you that was buried beneath expectations, heartbreak, and exhaustion. This isn't just a message, it's a mirror. Let me share something personal. A woman I once met, let's call her Elise, was a Scorpio. For decades, she supported her family. She stayed in a job that drained her, cared for an ill parent, and put her own dreams in a box she stored far out of reach. Her softness was misread as submission. Her loyalty was used as leverage. And when she finally collapsed from emotional burnout, no one noticed, because they were used to her always being strong. But something miraculous happened in her stillness. She began to write, quietly, every morning at 5 a.m., before anyone woke. She scribbled pieces of her soul into journals. She returned to painting, the thing she gave up at 17 to be practical. And then, one day, someone saw her art online and offered her a gallery show. That was 3 years ago. Today, Elise teaches healing through creativity. She says it wasn't revenge that saved her, it was rediscovery. And now, Scorpio, it's your turn. Your moment of rediscovery is here. Not loud, not dramatic, but divinely timed. The sacred storm before the light. Many Scorpios go through a soul storm before they rise. Yours may have already happened, or perhaps you're in it right now. Confusion, loss, betrayal, sudden changes. These are not signs you are cursed. They are signs that your soul is undergoing alchemy. Just like gold is purified through fire, your spirit is being refined through trials. And in that process, something extraordinary is happening. You are no longer who you once were. And that's not a loss, it's your greatest gain. Do not rush this metamorphosis. It's sacred, as the wheel of fate turns. And yes, it is turning for you now. You must let go of old versions of yourself. The ones who said yes too often. The ones who feared being seen. The ones who thought love had to be earned through suffering. You don't need to prove yourself anymore. You just need to be yourself. Unapologetically, vividly, vulnerably. A whisper from the universe. Scorpio, I want you to pause for a moment. Close your eyes if you can. Breathe in deeply. Now say this quietly to yourself. I am not forgotten. I am becoming. Let that settle in your bones. The divine hasn't abandoned you. In fact, you were never left behind. You were simply being hidden for a time of revelation. This moment, right here, right now, could be the one that changes everything. But only if you let go of what no longer serves your highest truth. In the next part, we will enter the realm of tarot not as superstition, but as reflection. We'll explore the Wheel of Fortune and the Justice card, and how they confirm that the universe is balancing what once felt unfair. Because Scorpio, you've paid the price. Now you shall receive the blessing. If this touched you, right below, I accept the sacred return of all that was once mine. And subscribe to the path to Buddhist wisdom, where your soul's truth is never ignored. Backhand index pointing right. Ready for part 2? Let me take you deeper. We're just getting started. Part 2. The wheel turns and justice finds you. Scorpio. There's a truth you've always sensed deep in your bones, in the stillness between your breaths. Life is not random. The pain you've endured wasn't pointless. The silence you kept wasn't in vain. And now, the wheel turns, not as luck, but as divine timing. Today, we look into the sacred symbols that the universe reveals when a soul like yours is on the verge of cosmic justice. The cards speak, not to predict, but to reflect the truth you already know deep inside. You've been walking toward this for lifetimes. Let's begin. The Wheel of Fortune, a karmic contract awakens. The first card drawn, the Wheel of Fortune. Not by coincidence. Never by chance. Scorpio, you are at the edge of a karmic shift so profound, even your ancestors hold their breath. This is not just the turning of luck. This is the honoring of an agreement your soul made long ago. A promise that when you chose love over vengeance, when you stayed when it was easier to leave, when you spoke peace instead of rage, the universe would remember. And now it has. I once knew a man named Julian, a quiet, deeply sensitive Scorpio who spent years in emotional exile after a betrayal from someone he loved dearly. Instead of lashing out, he chose silence. Instead of revenge, he chose to rebuild his sense of self. He waited. He healed. For 5 years, nothing external changed. But inside, a revolution brewed. Then, one autumn morning, a phone call came. A company he'd applied to years ago, long forgotten, offered him not just a job, but a leadership role, with relocation, full benefits, and a housing allowance. Julian told me he cried, not because of the offer, but because someone finally saw his value. He said, it wasn't just a job. It was the universe saying, I didn't forget you. Scorpio, you are next. Scorpio, you are the silent warrior of karma. The wheel turns. But it doesn't turn blindly. It turns for you, not against you. The people who dismissed you? The ones who drained your energy and walked away as if nothing mattered? They were part of the test, not the punishment. The truth is, your destiny was never in their hands. It was in your response to them. In Scorpio, you passed. You stayed soft. You didn't lose yourself. You wept in secret and still got up the next morning to love again. And that is why the wheel now spins for you. Justice. The universe saw what they didn't. The second card, Justice, didn't appear gently. It thundered. This is not about revenge. It's about recognition. The divine is saying enough. This soul has carried too much for too long. Let them be restored. You see, Scorpio, you've lived lifetimes where your silence was misunderstood as weakness. You've had to be the one who forgives when apologies were never offered, who gives without asking, who holds space for others, even when no one held space for you. But now, the scales tip in your favor. Not because you're blameless, not because you're perfect, but because through every injustice, you refuse to let darkness harden your light. And that is sacred. Do you feel it, Scorpio? That restlessness? That surge? It's not anxiety. It's not nervousness. It's your soul's signal that something enormous is coming. Every time your heart races when you're alone. Every time you stare at the sky and feel like something unseen is calling you. That's not imagination. That's resonance. Something big is preparing to land in your life. And to receive it, you must step forward, not as a version others molded, but as your truest self. An invitation to align with destiny. Take a deep breath, Scorpio. Now say this. I release what is no longer mine. I receive what was always destined. This is your declaration. This is your covenant with light. Justice means your voice will no longer be silenced, not by others, and not by your own self-doubt. You will be seen, heard, acknowledged, not for what you perform, but for who you are. If you need a sign, this is it. So many of you have prayed quietly, asking, when will it be my turn? When will I feel chosen, seen, worthy? Let this be your answer. This is your sign. You are not broken. You are not behind. You are not forgotten. The wheel has turned. Justice has spoken. In Scorpio, you are rising. Next, a radiant dawn breaks. In the next part, we will welcome the warmth of the sun, a symbol of clarity, healing, and uncontainable joy. But for now, if this chapter touched your soul, whisper below. I receive my karmic justice. I am ready. And don't forget to subscribe to the Path to Buddhist Wisdom, where your soul finds its voice again. Part 3. The sun returns. After the soul storm comes light. There is a moment in every Scorpio's journey when you ask yourself, is this who I was meant to become, or just who I had to be to survive? You see, surviving is not the same as living. Enduring isn't the same as thriving. In Scorpio, you spent far too long walking through spiritual storms, learning to breathe in spaces where most would have drowned. But now, after the long night, something miraculous happens. The sun rises not just in the sky, but in you. The sun, not just illumination, but recognition. In the tarot, the sun is often seen as a card of joy, clarity, and abundance. But for Scorpio, it means something deeper. This is not just happiness. This is witnessing. Finally, someone sees you. Not the mask, not the toughness, not the mystery, but the tender, glowing core you've hidden behind armor. Because you've learned the hard way, people say they want the truth, but few can handle the depths you carry. So, you adapted. You edited yourself. You wore masks so others wouldn't run. But now, the universe sends you a message as clear as dawn. No more hiding. No more shrinking. Let the full light of who you are shine. A true story, from darkness to daylight. Let me share with you the story of a woman named Clara. She was a Scorpio who grew up being told she was too intense, too emotional, too much. So she stopped speaking. She became the perfect daughter, the agreeable wife, the steady employee. But inside, she was unraveling. One day, after a quiet breakdown in the middle of an ordinary Wednesday, she went outside barefoot, stood under the sun, and whispered, "I don't know who I am anymore." A month later, she left the job. A year later, the marriage. And now, she runs a healing center for women who forgot how to be themselves. She told me I wasn't broken. I was buried. Scorpio, how many parts of yourself have been buried to keep the peace? You don't have to be the dark one anymore. People often label you as mysterious, secretive, or intense, but they forget one thing. You're also the sign of rebirth. Yes, you've walked through shadow, but your destination has always been light. And now, as the sun rises in your chart, the world starts to mirror what you've known quietly in your soul. You were never meant to stay in survival mode. You were meant to shine, not to impress, not to be applauded, but simply because it's time. A sacred shift in your aura. When the sun card appears for a Scorpio, it means more than just external success. It means an internal radiance begins to return. You start feeling again. You trust your smile. You let yourself laugh without guilt. You stop bracing for loss and start allowing joy. And that's when something powerful happens. Your energy becomes magnetic. People will start to notice you, not because you tried, but because your light is finally unhidden. They'll ask, "What's different about you?" But they won't realize the real answer. I've stopped apologizing for existing. This isn't about perfection. It's about permission. You don't need to wait until everything is perfect to be happy. You don't need to prove your worth with degrees, followers, or flawless choices. You only need to say yes to the life that's been waiting patiently behind the walls you built for protection. So today, Scorpio, speak this softly to your soul. I allow myself to be seen in my full light. I am safe to shine. I am safe to feel joy again. Say it not as a hope, but as a choice. A sacred, empowered choice. You are the light you've been waiting for. The world has told you your softness was weakness. Your sensitivity was excess. Your longing for meaning was unrealistic. But the truth is, your depth is what makes your joy so radiant. You don't feel happiness like everyone else. You absorb it. You merge with it. And now, the divine is saying, it's your turn. This is not just about feeling good. It's about being whole. It's about letting the warmth of your own spirit return to your body. Let this be your new beginning. In the next chapter of your journey, we will explore what it means to release the things, people, and patterns that no longer match your new light. But for now, close your eyes. Feel the warmth. Know this is real. And if this truth touched you, write in the comments. My light is returning. I am no longer afraid of being seen. And remember to subscribe to the Path to Buddhist Wisdom. Let this be your sanctuary, where the light within you is always honored. Part 4. The tower must fall, when losing becomes liberation. Scorpio, you've always had an unspoken gift. The ability to sense when something is about to collapse. A relationship, a friendship, a belief, even a version of yourself. And most of the time, you held it up. You tried. You gave. You stayed longer than you should. Because deep down, you believed, if I love enough, maybe it won't fall apart. But here's the truth no one told you. Some things are meant to fall, not as punishment, but as permission. The tower, a sacred breakdown. When the tower appears in a Scorpio's reading, it doesn't bring fear, it brings truth. And Scorpio, you were born to handle truth, even when others run from it. The Tower isn't destruction for the sake of chaos. It's destruction for the sake of clarity. It strips away illusion, ego, dependency. It removes what's been delaying your evolution. And most importantly, it makes space for your rebirth. Let me tell you about Dev. Dev was a Scorpio man in his late 30s. He was married, had a steady job, lived a predictable life. From the outside, everything looked fine. But inside, he felt like a ghost in his own skin. He stayed because leaving would hurt people. He smiled because he didn't want to cause conflict. He made money, paid bills, raised kids, but he didn't feel alive. Then, unexpectedly, his wife asked for a divorce. His company downsized. His mother passed away. 3 losses in 6 months. He told me, "I thought life was punishing me, but now I see it was rescuing me." Today, Dev teaches breathwork and coaches men on emotional awakening. He said, "My tower didn't fall to destroy me. It fell to set me free." Scorpio, you've outgrown what you once prayed for. Sometimes, what you begged the universe to save is the very thing it needs to take away. Not because you were wrong to want it, but because you've grown, and your spirit no longer fits into places where truth is denied. You were not meant to shrink just to be loved. You were not meant to walk on eggshells to keep others comfortable. And most of all, you were not meant to carry everyone else's healing while your own soul goes unattended. When the tower falls, let it. I know you want to hold it together. You've always been the one people count on. But sometimes, you need to be the one who falls apart. And that's okay, because the tower clears what cannot go with you into the next version of your life. Maybe it's a toxic friendship. Maybe it's a career you've outgrown. Maybe it's the identity you clung to just to survive. Let it go. Yes, there will be grief. But on the other side of grief is truth. And truth, Scorpio, is your soul's native language. What happens after the collapse? You rebuild differently. And this time, you don't build to impress. You don't build for approval. You build for alignment. This time, your foundation is truth, not fear. It's purpose, not pressure. It's love, not the kind that demands, but the kind that accepts. And when that new structure begins to rise from the ashes of your old life, you'll feel something unfamiliar, yet unmistakably right. Peace. Not the peace of stillness, but the peace of being in integrity with yourself. If it's leaving, let it. Scorpio, if someone is pulling away, if something feels like it's falling apart, don't cling. Not everything breaking is a tragedy. Sometimes it's a doorway. You don't need to chase. You don't need to explain. You don't need to convince anyone to stay. What's aligned will remain. What's real will return. And what's not was never meant to stay beyond the lesson. Let go with grace. Rise with power. Today, take this breath as a moment of release. Say aloud, I allow my tower to fall. I release what no longer serves my sacred evolution. You don't have to fear change anymore. You don't have to carry ruins. You are not your past. You are not what left. You are what remains and what rises. The light that comes after is always brighter. In the next part of this journey, we'll step into the Lover's card, where love, choice, and soul reflection await. But before you go, write this in the comments if this resonated. I rise from the ruins. My soul is ready to rebuild in truth. And if this message held your heart today, subscribe to the Path to Buddhist Wisdom. This is your safe space for awakening, truth, and soulful transformation. Part 5. The Lovers, a soulful choice between safety and awakening. Scorpio, you know better than most that love is not just a feeling. It's a force, transformative, sacred, sometimes painful, and always revealing. You don't love lightly. When you open your heart, it's not for convenience. It's a commitment, a surrender, a merging of energy that runs so deep, it terrifies people who've never felt anything past the surface. And now, love comes again. But this time, it arrives not to complete you, but to reflect you. The Lovers, a choice of the soul, not the mind. When the Lover's card appears, most people think of romance. But for Scorpio, it's so much more. It represents a fork in the road, a decision between what's familiar and what sets your soul on fire. Between the person who feels safe and the one who sees through every wall you've built. One path leads to comfort, the other to awakening. And Scorpio, the universe is asking, are you ready to stop choosing almost love and open yourself to soul-shaking truth? A story of real love and the fear that comes with it. Let me tell you about Luna. She was a Scorpio woman who had been in a steady, polite relationship for 3 years. Her partner was kind, respectful, logical, everything her mind approved of. But her soul felt muted. She said, "It felt like I was living in a beautiful home with no music." Then, unexpectedly, she met someone, a stranger at a meditation retreat. They spoke once, and yet, that one conversation cracked her open in a way 3 years of companionship never had. It wasn't lust, she told me. It was a mirror. I saw myself in ways I'd never dared look before. She ended the relationship, not to run toward the stranger, but to run toward herself. That was 4 years ago. Today, she's with someone who makes her feel seen, not managed. Someone who challenges and nourishes her spirit, not just her schedule. Scorpio, the deepest love you'll ever find, is the one that awakens who you were before the world told you to behave. Is it love or is it familiarity? Ask yourself honestly, are you staying with someone because you feel safe or because you feel alive? Are you choosing someone who reflects your soul's truth or someone who protects your fear of being alone? The Lover's card asks you to choose, not between two people, but between two realities. One where your soul expands, one where your spirit shrinks to fit someone else's comfort. In Scorpio, you didn't come here to be half alive. You came to love as a revolution. Sometimes, the deepest love begins with you. There's another secret of this card. Sometimes, the Lovers isn't about romance at all. It's about finally choosing yourself, your needs, your dreams, your truth. The love that lasts always begins inward. When you choose to stop abandoning yourself to please others. When you stop twisting your truth just to be accepted. That's when real love finds you. Because now, it's not rescuing you. It's meeting you where you already are. What does real love look like for Scorpio? It looks like depth, not drama. Silence that feels full, not awkward. Conflict that leads to understanding, not shame. Touch that feels like remembrance, not performance. Real love for Scorpio is safe intensity. It's vulnerability without fear. It's being known fully and still loved deeply. And if you've never had that before, don't mourn. You're not too late. You're just finally ready. A divine union is drawing closer. In the next 3 months, for many Scorpios, a connection appears that may surprise you. It may be a person or an opportunity that opens your heart in unexpected ways. Whatever it is, you will feel a familiar vibration, a pull that doesn't make sense logically, but resonates like a memory from before this life. Don't rush it. Don't control it. Just receive it. Your soul has waited lifetimes for this meeting. Let it unfold without fear. If you're already in a relationship, this message still applies. This is your chance to ask, are we growing or just coexisting? Do I feel heard or just managed? Am I shrinking to make this work? If the answer hurts, don't rush to leave. But do begin the conversation you've been avoiding. Because if they truly love you, they'll want the real you, not just the version that's easiest to handle. Choose love, but first, choose truth. Write this somewhere today, Scorpio. I choose connection that awakens, not just comforts. I choose love that reflects my soul. And if this touched a part of your heart that's been quiet for too long, whisper below. I am ready to love and be loved without hiding. And subscribe to the path to Buddhist wisdom, where the love you seek is rooted in sacred honesty. Next, a legacy is born. In the next chapter, we'll explore the 10 of Pentacles, where soul finally meets structure, and Scorpio begins to build a life that lasts. But for now, pause. Breathe. Feel your own love returning. You are not too much. You are not hard to love. You are just finally being loved the way you deserve. Part 6. The 10 of Pentacles, building a life your soul can live in. Scorpio. You've searched the stars. You've walked through shadow. You've rebuilt your heart, piece by piece. And now, the universe has one question for you. Are you ready to build something that lasts, not just in this life, but beyond it? Because the 10 of Pentacles has appeared. And with it comes the promise of a legacy, a structure not built out of fear or force, but out of soul alignment and sacred purpose. This is no longer about survival. It's about stability. It's about finally living in a reality that feels as true as your spirit. The soul doesn't just want success, it wants belonging. Too often, Scorpio, you've confused achievement with security. You've worked tirelessly. You've sacrificed sleep, comfort, even joy. Chasing the next milestone, hoping this time it would feel like home. But the Ten of Pentacles says, home is not a destination. It's a frequency. It's the moment when your external life begins to match your internal truth. When your soul no longer has to compromise to exist. When you look around, not in envy or survival mode, but in peace. A real story, the day enough became abundance. Let me tell you about Mateo, a Scorpio entrepreneur who built a thriving tech company. He made millions, but every time he hit a goal, he felt emptier. Everyone called me successful, he told me, but I felt like I was living someone else's dream. One night, alone in his penthouse, he broke down, not from failure, but from misalignment. The next day, he didn't quit. He realigned. He shifted the company's focus to ethical tech and employee wellness. He reduced his income, but tripled his joy. Years later, Mateo says, I stopped measuring wealth by what I owned. Now, I measure it by how often I feel at peace. Scorpio, you can have success that feels like freedom. You no longer need to choose between money and meaning. What does true stability look like for Scorpio? It's not perfection. It's not luxury for the sake of image. It's authentic abundance. A home where you don't have to perform. A partner who values your quiet depth. Finances that support your freedom, not feed your anxiety. Friendships that feel like soul contracts, not social obligations. And most importantly, a life where you no longer betray yourself just to belong. From legacy of pain to legacy of power. Many Scorpios inherit emotional or energetic legacies filled with survival, secrecy, or shame. But you, dear Scorpio, are the cycle breaker. The Ten of Pentacles is your permission slip to build a new lineage, one rooted in healing, awareness, and truth. Your children, literal or spiritual, won't have to repeat what you've endured. Because you chose to do the work. Because you had the courage to stop the bleeding. Because you said, it ends with me. This is the kind of wealth the soul longs for. Not what fills your wallet, but what frees your bloodline. You are safe to receive. You've been the giver for so long. You've held space. You've carried weight. You've been the one others call when they fall apart. But now, it's your turn. To rest. To receive. To rebuild without pressure. To own without apology. To rise without permission. Say it aloud. I am worthy of a life that supports my truth. The universe isn't asking for proof. It's offering you provision. Allow yourself to step into ease. It might feel strange at first, this peace. You're used to struggle, to proving, to protecting. But ease doesn't mean laziness. It means alignment. It means saying yes to work that lights you up, letting go of people who don't see your value, saving not out of fear, but out of self-respect, choosing environments that nourish your nervous system. Scorpio, you've built strength and fire. Now it's time to build stability and light. Write a new definition of success. The world told you success was loud, competitive, busy, but your soul has always whispered otherwise. Success is waking up without dread. Success is being deeply known and still deeply loved. Success is looking in the mirror and feeling proud of who you didn't become. You don't have to climb ladders anymore. You're here to build temples. If this resonates, let it land in you fully. You are not just here to feel deeply. You are here to live deeply. And that means allowing beauty, safety, love, and wealth on your terms to take root. Write this in the comments if you feel it. I welcome stability that honors my soul. And don't forget to subscribe to the Path to Buddhist Wisdom, where we build not just success, but sanctuary. Coming next, the Magician, remembering the power you always had. Now that your foundation is forming, we move to the next sacred step, awakening your power. In Part 7, the Magician card reminds you that you are not waiting on destiny. You are the destiny. But for now, rest, receive, and remember, the life you long for is not far away. It's already forming beneath your feet. Part 7, the Magician, you are not waiting on destiny. You are the destiny. Scorpio. There's something you've quietly suspected for years. A feeling you couldn't fully explain. A knowing almost too bold to say aloud. I was born with power. Not to control others, but to awaken something divine within myself. You've never fit in. You've always felt things before they happened. Known things no one told you. Dreamed of a reality others called unrealistic. But what if I told you those instincts were never illusions? What if they were signals? And now, as the Magician rises in your tarot journey, it's time to stop doubting, stop waiting, and start becoming. The Magician, not a trickster, but a creator. For others, this card might symbolize opportunity. For Scorpio, it's remembrance. It's the sacred reclaiming of power you gave away in moments of fear, silence, or survival. The magician tells you, you have every tool, every element, every permission, not to perform, but to create. Fire, your passion. Water, your intuition. Air, your clarity. Earth, your grounding. This is not the beginning of your power. This is where you stop pretending you don't have it. You were never meant to follow. You were meant to manifest. You've watched others take shortcuts, seen people win by playing small, loud, or inauthentic. You've kept silent, choosing integrity over image. And now, it's your time to create a life not just worthy of your dreams, but dripping in your signature energy. Not just success, but sovereignty. Not just results, but resonance. A real story, The Forgotten Musician. Amira was a Scorpio woman who gave up music at age 22. Told by her father it was a nice hobby, not a real career, she buried that part of herself. She worked in finance for 17 years. Then one night, she found her old guitar in the attic, touched it, cried, and decided, if I live one more year, I want it to be real. She began writing again, quietly, uploaded a few clips online. They went viral. At 41, she signed her first record deal, not because she chased fame, but because she chose to remember who she was before the world told her to forget. That is the magician's power. Scorpio, your soul is a portal. When you speak with conviction, people pause. When you move with purpose, energy bends. When you believe deeply, things manifest quickly, sometimes so fast it scares you. But let this be clear. You're not lucky. You're not manipulating. You're not too intense. You are magnetic. And it's time you own it. What have you been afraid to claim? Ask yourself. What part of me have I silenced out of fear it's too much? What idea, project, or gift have I abandoned because no one else believed in it? What dream still flickers in me, waiting to be seen? Scorpio, the magician doesn't wait for approval. He creates what doesn't yet exist and lets others catch up later. And so must you. Speak, write, build, share. The world is waiting. That course you want to create? Launch it. That book inside you? Begin it. That move, that shift, that message? Deliver it. Stop asking if you're good enough. You're beyond enough. You are ordained. Your path won't look like anyone else's. It's not supposed to. You didn't come to copy. You came to channel. Say this with me now. I am the magician of my own becoming. I reclaim my tools. I activate my gifts. I manifest a reality aligned with my soul. Breathe that in. Feel it in your chest. Say it again if you need to. Because this is the day you stop outsourcing your worth. This is the hour you say, I don't need permission. I just need to begin. A closing reminder, you're not behind. You're ready. What others fear, your power, your depth, your clarity, is what makes you divine. The magician doesn't rush. He aligns. He focuses. He speaks life into being, not from ego, but from truth. Scorpio, the world has had enough copies. What it needs now is you. If you feel this, let it echo out loud. In the comments, write this if your soul resonates. I activate the creator within me. My path begins now. And subscribe to the Path to Buddhist Wisdom, your space to remember, reclaim, and radiate. Next up, the star, hope reignited after darkness. In the next part, the star will lead you into sacred hope. Not wishful thinking, but the kind of inner light that survives storms and rebuilds galaxies. But for now, take your first step as the magician. Not because you're ready, but because you're no longer willing to pretend you're not. Part 8, the star, when hope becomes your greatest power. Scorpio. Do you remember the moment when you thought you'd never feel whole again? Maybe it was after a betrayal. Maybe after a failure you blamed yourself for. Or maybe it wasn't one moment, but years of quiet exhaustion that made you whisper, I'm tired of hoping. And yet, here you are. Still breathing. Still open. Still listening to messages like this one. Because a part of you refused to let the darkness win. That part of you is the star. The star, a silent flame that never went out. This card doesn't shout. It doesn't demand. It arrives like a hush after the storm, gentle, calm, but radiant. For Scorpio, the star represents something sacred. The moment when you stop needing a reason to believe and start believing because your soul remembers what your mind forgot. It's the return of faith, not in others, not even in circumstances, but in yourself. A true story, the light after the breakdown. I once knew a Scorpio man named Elias. He had lost everything: job, home, a partner he thought he would marry. He stopped speaking to most people. hid from the world, spent days lying on the floor, watching ceiling cracks. One night, he saw a single star through a dusty window. It wasn't a miracle. It didn't speak to him. But in that moment, he said something changed. I realized the sky was still showing up, he said. And maybe, so could I. Years later, Elias didn't become famous or rich. He became himself, started a garden, adopted a rescue dog, and every night, he sat outside and whispered thanks to that first star. He said, hope isn't loud. It's steady. Scorpio, your steady is returning. Hope is not a weakness. It's survival magic. The world often scoffs at hope, says it's naive, childish, unreliable. But you know better. You know that hope is what made you love again. After being shattered, hope is what helped you try again. When logic said, don't bother. And now, the star reminds you. You don't need to know how things will unfold. You just need to believe that light is still possible. You've already survived the hardest part. Scorpio, here's what no one tells you about the healing journey. The moment you stop chasing the old story and surrender to becoming new. That's when healing begins. You don't have to go back to who you were. You're not meant to. The pain shaped you, but it doesn't own you. What comes next is not a restoration of the past. It's a recreation of your future. Let hope be your compass. When you feel lost, don't force answers. Don't demand clarity. Just follow the next shimmer. A book that appears in your hands unexpectedly. A dream that won't let go. A person who sees you deeply after years of invisibility. A moment of joy that erupts out of nowhere. These aren't coincidences. They're constellations. In Scorpio, you've always known how to read stars. Speak this over your life today. I don't need to know every answer. I just need to keep walking toward what feels like light. Let that be your mantra. Let that be your medicine. Because the star doesn't demand you to shine instantly, it just asks you to stop dimming. This is not blind faith. It's sacred memory. Somewhere deep in your soul, you remember. A version of you, untouched by fear. A vision you had before life got loud. A calling that hasn't left, only grown quiet. The star card is your cosmic permission to remember what you were born knowing. You were meant to rise again, not as who you were, but as who you really are. And no pain, not even the deepest, can erase your light. Write this in the comments if you feel it. My hope is returning. My light is real. And subscribe to the Path to Buddhist Wisdom, where your healing, no matter how quiet, is always sacred. Coming up next, the Tower Revisited, letting go of what you've outgrown. Yes, we've faced the Tower before. But after hope is reignited, sometimes the universe returns to finish what you weren't ready to release the first time. In Part 9, we revisit collapse, not with fear, but with clarity. Because now, you're ready to build without shame. You're ready to choose your future, not just survive it. But for tonight, look up. Even one star is enough to begin again. Part 9, the Tower Revisited, let go of what you've outgrown. Scorpio. There was a time when the Tower meant fear, loss, chaos, the kind of change that knocks the wind out of your soul and leaves you gasping. But now, after all you've walked through, after the star reawakened your hope, you no longer fear the fall. You welcome it when it means you're finally free. This is not collapse. This is conscious clearing. And Scorpio, if you know how to burn the old with such sacred grace as you do. The second tower, the one you tear down yourself. There are two towers in life. The one that life shakes to wake you up. The one you choose to dismantle because your soul has outgrown the structure. You already survived the first. Now you're ready for the second. This tower is not built from brick or stone. It's made of old expectations, of dreams that no longer belong to you, of roles you've played just to be accepted. And now, with your eyes wide open and your heart lit by the star, you say, I no longer want to maintain what no longer feels like me. A story of sacred exit. Mira, a Scorpio I once worked with, had been in the same corporate job for 11 years. Everyone saw her as a leader, stable, loyal, respected. But inside, she felt numb. I used to cry in the car before walking into the building, she told me. But I thought quitting would be selfish, irresponsible, ungrateful. One day, she asked herself, is this life, or just a long rehearsal for something I'll never do? She gave notice, not in anger, but in peace. Today, she runs a holistic retreat space in Bali, using her Scorpio depth to guide others through transformation. She didn't wait for the building to burn. She walked out before the flames ever came. That's what this tower is about. Leaving before it collapses, because now, you're listening to your soul instead of your fear. The cost of staying small is no longer acceptable. Scorpio, the real reason the tower must fall again isn't because you're being punished. It's because you've grown. You're too expanded now to fit into your old shell. That relationship that keeps you guessing. That job that numbs your gifts. That belief that says you're only worthy if you suffer. It's time to bless them and let them go. How do you know it's time to walk away? Here are a few signs. You feel drained after interactions, not energized. You're shrinking parts of yourself just to keep peace. You have to keep convincing yourself to stay. The fear of leaving is slowly becoming smaller than the pain of staying. Scorpio, read that again. When the pain of staying becomes louder than the fear of change. You're ready to walk away not because you're weak, but because you're wise. You can honor what was, without clinging to it. Not everything you leave behind was toxic. Some things were beautiful, but no longer true. Some people did love you, just not in the way you needed. Some chapters were right until they weren't. The wisdom is knowing when to say, "Thank you for what you gave me. Now I release you so I can keep becoming." That's not cold. That's sacred. This time, you don't have to break to rebuild. The first tower cracked you open. This time, you're opening yourself. It's the difference between chaos and clarity, between devastation and decision. In Scorpio, your decision to rise is your most powerful act yet. Say this with me now. I choose to walk away from what I've outgrown. I trust the space it creates will be filled with alignment. Let it echo through every room inside you that still holds fear. Let it untangle the old threads of guilt and loyalty. Because walking away doesn't mean you don't care. It means you finally care enough about yourself. Let the light you found guide you forward. You've already survived so much. Now, you're thriving by choice. Let this tower fall quietly. You don't owe explanations. You don't need closure. You only need truth. And if this spoke to you, whisper below. I release what I've outgrown. I am ready for what aligns with who I am now. And subscribe to the path to Buddhist wisdom, where walking away isn't weakness, it's awakening. Next, the lovers revisited. This time, you choose you. Now that the tower has cleared the false, we return to the lover's card. Not to seek connection, but to reflect on what it means to choose yourself without shame. Because Scorpio, the most divine union, begins within. Part 10. The lovers revisited. Choosing yourself without shame. Scorpio, you've searched the skies. You've walked through fire. You've faced towers, danced with stars, and awakened the magician within. And now, you arrive here, not at the end, but at the beginning of a life where you finally choose you. We return to the lover's card. But this time, not in search of someone else. This time, it reflects you back to yourself. The deepest commitment you'll ever make. All your life, you've been taught that love is something to earn. Be good, be strong, be useful. Then, maybe, someone will stay. But what if the most important vow you'll ever make is the one you make to your own soul? I will no longer abandon myself to be loved. I will no longer betray my truth to feel safe. Scorpio, that is divine union. That is sacred intimacy. That is the kind of love that transforms everything it touches. A quiet story of choosing self. Lucian, a Scorpio client of mine, had been in a relationship for 7 years. It wasn't abusive. It wasn't dramatic. It was numb. When he spoke, he filtered. When he laughed, it was polite. When he dreamed, he kept those dreams in a notebook no one ever saw. One day, he looked in the mirror and whispered, "I don't think I know this version of me anymore." So he left, not in rage, not in sorrow, but in clarity. He said, "I didn't leave him. I came home to me. You are not too much. You were just in places that asked you to be less." Scorpio, how many times have you been told, "You feel too deeply. You ask for too much. You love too hard. You're too intense." But here's what no one said loud enough. You are not too much. You are exactly right, just not for people who fear their own depth. And finally, you are learning to stop shrinking, to stop apologizing, to stop negotiating with parts of you that were always meant to shine freely. Real love begins when you stop performing. No more masking your emotions. No more pretending you're fine. No more loving others so much you forget how to love yourself. You've learned that self-abandonment is not love. It's fear in a pretty disguise. And now, Scorpio, you're choosing something else. Radical truth, tender boundaries, fierce self-respect, and love that doesn't require you to earn your own worth. What if you never needed to be fixed? What if nothing about you was broken? What if the pain you've carried wasn't proof of your flaw, but proof of your capacity? To feel, to heal, to endure. to awaken, to remember, to rise. Scorpio, you're not a problem to be solved. You are a universe to be witnessed. Say this with me now. I choose myself, not as a last resort, but as a sacred beginning. I am worthy of the love I've always given to others. Let those words settle into your chest. Feel them echo through every past version of you that waited, begged, or broke to feel loved. Because now, you give that love to yourself without apology. When you choose you, the universe responds. Here's the hidden truth. When you finally say yes to your soul, the world rearranges. People who match your frequency appear. Opportunities align with your purpose. Peace replaces anxiety. Love finds you, not because you need it, but because you already are it. You are no longer chasing love. You are becoming it. Let this be your last goodbye to who you used to be. Goodbye to the self-sacrificer, the over-explainer, the one who stayed silent to be loved, the one who waited for permission. And hello to the sovereign heart, the clear voice, the soul-lit path, the Scorpio who knows they are already enough. If this spoke to you, speak back. Write this in the comments. If your soul is ready, I choose myself. I love myself. I begin again in truth. And if this series has walked beside you, subscribe to the path to Buddhist wisdom, where your healing is holy, your truth is honored, and your journey is always enough. Glowing star, you did it. Scorpio, you returned to yourself. Not because someone rescued you, not because the pain stopped, but because you never gave up. You stood through fire. You rebuilt through tears. You chose love again, not outside you, but within. And for that, the universe is rising to meet you. You didn't just survive. You remembered who you were. And that's the prophecy fulfilled.